How's that look?
That's pretty good.
Okay.
What's up guys, Coach Nate here, back again with Mario Fraioli. Today we're talking about how to fuel for stupid long distances.
Stupid long runs.
AKA
and races, AKA ultra distances.
AKA those ultra marathons. What do you got for us today, Mario?
So we're gonna talk fueling in general, we'll talk frequency, we are gonna talk how to strategize before your long run, maybe even during. Same thing goes for races. Keep it along those lines.
Keep along those lines. So get some good tips for you so you can tackle this thing, eat your way through it. Let's get started with that first clip. Hey, thanks again to UCAN for sponsoring this video, bringing Mario on our channel. Stick around for a special message from Mario on how he uses UCAN to fuel his long runs and a unique special offer just for our community. So, getting into ultra running nutrition, Mario, what are the demands of, say, an ultra running race versus, say, like a road marathon?
Well, the first and most obvious thing is it's a lot longer than a road marathon in terms of distance and the amount of time that you're going to be out there. So you have to sustain yourself for longer, and you've got to plan for that. And then from an intensity standpoint, in a road marathon, you're running pretty steady. I mean, even on a hilly course, you're keeping a pretty steady level of intensity the entire way. Whereas in an ultra race, especially on the trails, you're going to have big ups, big downs. You have sections where you're walking, your heart rate's low. You have sections that are super steep and long, your heart rate's pretty high for a long time. And when you're doing that, you're burning fuel at different rates. So it's something that you have to account for in an ultra that you don't necessarily have to in a road marathon.
So how might one use the course to determine how and when they're going to fuel?
Well, I think you need to use the course in an ultra race for determining when you're going to refuel or restock. Because in an ultra race, there aren't aid stations every mile. They might be 3 miles apart, they might be 5 miles apart, sometimes they're 8 or more miles apart. And you're carrying a lot of your stuff with you in a vest, you know, in a belt, on your handheld, in your shorts, and you're going to go through that from aid station to aid station. But knowing where they are in the course is going to let you know, or at least let you strategize when you're going to refill your water, when you can stock up on some of the stuff that they offer there. So it's not the only time that you're fueling, but you're thinking, when am I going to restock my supplies so that I can keep going the rest of the way?
Yeah. Now, in a regular marathon, as we were saying, a lot of times you have those more predictable aid stations. Your pace and effort is more consistent all the way through. So you're kind of eating the same stuff all the way through. And we'll get into this a little bit more in the video, but it sounds like in the ultra, there's going to be a little bit more variety of what you eat and when. Absolutely.
I mean, in the marathon, I tell my athletes, like, you're burning hot the entire time. And when you're burning hot, you can't really process too many solid things. I mean, your body
cheeseburgers are not really happening.
Not going to happen. You're not going to stop for a sandwich in the middle of a marathon, or at least most marathons. I don't anyway. So you see people taking gels and a lot of sports drinks and things like that that pass through pretty quickly. In an ultra race, you're moving at a slower pace and a lower intensity, and as I talked about a little while ago, those intensities vary throughout the race. So you're gonna have points where it makes more sense to have something a little bit more solid that's gonna be a little bit more sustaining, and then there are gonna be parts of the race where, especially later, you're sort of in distress. You might not be able to take those things, they might not be appealing. You need something that you're going to be able to use very quickly, and you transition to something else.
Yeah. Hence why it's really important to look at the demand specifically of the race you've signed up for, and then to start practicing that in the long runs and dress rehearsals, as you like to say yourself.
Yeah, every ultra is different. Some are in mountains, some are on roads, some are on flatter trails, some are at altitude, some are at sea level, and all those things are going to affect your nutrition strategy.
Awesome. Well, in these next sections, guys, we're going to get a little bit more into the weeds on what those specific things are. So Mario, how do you specifically use UCAN for those long runs? You got a long run on the trail. How do you set yourself up with it?
So I try to use the long runs as I call them a dress rehearsal for the race itself. So I try to practice what I'm going to do on race day in my training. So I start about 2 hours typically before the long run, and that's when I eat breakfast. So I grab a Performance Energy Pack. This is lemon. It's one of my favorite flavors. This gives me 120 calories, and it's very steady energy that's easy on my stomach. So all of this is part of my breakfast. It's not the only thing that I have, but this is a crucial component of it. And on top of that, I'll usually have, you know, maybe a bar of some sort, a banana, possibly like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that far ahead of my run.
Smooth or chunky?
Smooth. I'm a smooth peanut butter guy, and it digests pretty easily. But this is a huge part of it. I'll mix it in my blender bottle, just like that, exactly. and I'll drink that down over the course of 30 to 45 minutes. That's about 2 hours out from my run. I'll eat the rest of my stuff, take care of business, and head on out.
Head on out. I bet this probably could make a mean martini too.
It probably could.
Probably could. Well,
don't try that at home. Maybe you should try that at home.
Maybe you should try that at home. Well guys, thanks again to UCAN for sponsoring this video, bringing Mario on, and they have an incredible deal for our community only. You can get 5 packets of their Performance Energy, 3 of them regular Performance Energy, 2 are Performance Energy plus protein, all for $10, free shipping. Great deal. Description, there's the link that's there. I said that in a weird order, but you know, that's where it is.
It's there. That's the important thing. It's there. You should take advantage of it. Check it out.
And let's go back to the rest of this video. So with those ultra marathons, we talked about how a lot of the aid stations are further apart, and it's on you to carry more of your stuff, your water, your food. So what are some of your favorite gear for doing that?
Well, that's a huge thing. You've got to be self-sufficient for an ultra marathon, more so than any other type of race distance. So for me, it's going to depend on the race. I have done 50Ks with just a handheld bottle, and I've refilled it at the aid stations because they're only a few miles apart, and I'm able to do that because I want to carry as little as I need to, but sometimes you need to carry a lot. So I've gone that route.
This is a handheld with a soft flask.
Exactly.
So as the water shrinks, you're not carrying this bulky water bottle. It's a lighter.
Yeah, it only gets lighter as you drink. It gets easier to carry. So this is my preferred way to go. It's a 500 milliliter soft flask. It's got a little zip to it, so I can put gels in here or something else that I might need for longer races. Where
and do you only just put water in here? Or do you put other special stuff?
It depends on the day. I usually start with some sort of sports drink in here, and then later on in the race, I switch almost exclusively to water. For longer races where this is not going to be sufficient, I'll wear a vest. I can take this same soft flask, I'll get another one, I'll put them in here, so that means I've got a liter of water on me at any time. I've got all kinds of pockets and zips and things like that where I can just stuff all kinds of snacks to eat while I'm out on a long race, and it works pretty well for me.
Yeah. How did you find that, this particular vest worked for you versus other, packs or belts? There's just so much stuff out there.
Yeah, a lot of it's trial and error. I have just found I don't like having something around my waist, so I'd prefer to have the vest because most often then my hands are free, and I like having my hands free as much as I possibly can.
Better arm swing. If, you trip and fall, your hands can go out there to help you out. You can do stuff with your watch.
Well, this weighs something, so if you've got one handheld or two, it's almost like running with weights in your hands.
Yeah.
That's what you do. It's great practice for carrying
this is why you're so jacked
bottles.
Up here.
Yeah, well, I've been working on it a little bit, but that's just something to consider when you're out on a long day.
Very cool. So when it comes to finding your gear, it's best to practice for that dress rehearsal. Try on different ways of carrying that water. Try handheld versions. If you're going for the longer things, try out the vest. And make sure that you are practicing nothing new on race day.
Yeah, there's a myriad of options out there, but you do have to practice because it is different than running, completely unhinged. These things do weigh something, so it's like I said, you've got weight in your hands. Even this, your pack, if you've got water in the front, you're a little more weighted in your chest than you're used to. You've got to practice that on your long runs. You might be stuffing stuff in the back, so that could force you to lean one way or another, and you've got to get stronger. Back to the athleticism we talked about in some of the other videos that we've done. So definitely practice whatever it is that you're going to do on race day.
And what's crazy? You guys have voluntarily signed up for this stuff. In the next section, we're going to get a little bit more into the details of what you should be eating and drinking and when. So Mario, not only have you raced 50Ks and 50 milers, but you work with, some of the creme de la creme ultra endurance athletes out there getting ready for Western States or Ultra Trail Mont Blanc. How do they and yourself, actually specifically fuel on the race day?
Well, you've got to get on a schedule, and that's going to vary for everyone. For my athletes, it's typically every 20 to 30 minutes we're taking in something substantial, and that is gel. It could be peanut butter sandwich at an aid station, could be a bar of some sort, could be something that you've concocted yourself that you like to eat during a run, and you've got to practice that beforehand like we've talked about already, but it's generally every 20 to 30 minutes they're taking something substantial that has calories in it and that is going to help sustain them for the rest of the day.
Now, for a lot of these ultras, they will have aid stations that have a myriad of things that you could eat, from peanut butter jelly sandwiches to bananas to pretzels. But then with some of the longer races, you have your own support crew, and then you can start to have them bring the food that you specifically want.
Yeah, and they are typically going to be at an aid station. So you've got to know where those spots are on the course ahead of time so that you can strategize, saying like, okay, you know, I know there's a crew spot 17 miles in, and at that point I'm going to pick up some more gels, or I'm going to pick up a bar, or I'm going to, you know, swap out my bottles, or whatever it may be.
Interesting. So how important is variety when it comes to eating? Because I feel like in a shorter race, you know what, I can just get by with a few apple flavored gels, for example. I don't even know if apple's a flavor, but let's just pretend that it is. But then all of a sudden in a race, if I'm racing for 6 hours and I'm just eating apple gels, like I'm eating a ton of apple gels, and all of a sudden like 2 hours in, my stomach doesn't want apple gels anymore. I'm kind of up the creek a little bit. Yeah,
for some people that works. Like they can find that one thing and they can eat it or drink it all day and they'll stick with it, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that works for you, go for it. A lot of people, you are crazy, you're also abnormal, which is crazy as well. But if it works for you, go with it. But palate fatigue is a real thing. You can definitely just get sick of having a certain type of anything during the day. So you've got to have kind of options A, B, and C. And for most people, early on in a race, when you haven't been working that hard yet, you haven't been out there that long, it's a lot easier to take in something a bit more substantial and calorie dense, and oftentimes you're going to want to do that in the early stages
gives you
of a
like
race.
Kind of banks, gives you some insurance for later on, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then as the day goes on, you might switch to something that is going to be processed a lot quicker, that is easier to take, maybe it's a little less substantial.
Yeah, this is all of a sudden you're starting to work harder, stomach doesn't agree with you as much, you've got you know, eat those gels and liquids that are a little bit easier to take in.
Yeah, maybe those apple gels that you've been having all day, or whatever sports drink you've been consuming to that point, it just gets a little old, and the last thing you want is another hit of that. So maybe you switch to water in your bottle, or maybe you switch to a different flavored gel, or maybe you switch to something different altogether.
So really when it comes down to practicing and fueling for your ultramarathon, it is a lot of practice, a lot of dress rehearsal, a lot of experimentation, it sounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mario.
Are you gonna do this and then I'll go? Am I gonna say the UCAN bit?
I think you should start with the UCAN bit.
Thanks for tuning in.
That's a pretty good start.
Good, we're going. I don't know what I'm saying next, so I'm gonna leave it at that.
Thanks, Mario. Thanks for being here, man.
We might need to do that one over again.
You know, let's
stumble on a few things.
But pretend we can roll right through as well.
Third time will be the charm. Talking during the race itself.
We can talk during the race itself and during training.
Take two.
Take two. Really, your annoyance is like a 6.
Yeah, you're at like an 8-9.
We have talked a little bit about how this is not a great way to start a video. We did discuss that. So we're going to start again into something else. You guys, thanks again for tuning in, and Mario, thanks for being on this video with us.
Thanks for having me. This was super fun. Thanks to UCAN for bringing us this series of videos. You can take advantage of their sample pack that is 5 packs of their Performance Energy Mix. 3 of those are regular, 2 of those have protein for $10. And the information on how you can take advantage of that is in the description below.
And as usual, guys, if you like this video, you like Mario on our channel, hit that like button, that thumbs up button down in the video. If you have any comments or questions for us, anything ultra nutrition related, or I don't know what our favorite color is, drop those down in the comments too. And subscribe to our channel, guys, because we got new videos coming out each and every single week. We want you to see them. We're gonna keep filming. Actually, we're gonna go running because Nora is staring daggers at us right now.
She's getting antsy. I think we better hit the trail.
We gotta go hit the trails, guys, so we'll talk to you soon.